Church family, Pastor Joel and I wanted to give a quick update on CityLight Community Church in Linkou in Taipei, Taiwan. If you're not aware, that Mission Hill's vision is to see 500 churches or missionaries sent out or planted in 50 cities in 5 nations across the world. And so in 2019, Mission Hill sent my family out to plant a church with the team there in Taipei, Taiwan. And last week or a couple weeks ago, as Joel and I visited the church there, it was very clear that as we sat with elders and church members, there were both just so many encouraging stories that we heard, but also some immediate needs that the church has. As we sat in conversations with the church leadership and members of the church, it was very clear that God has His hand on this church. People began to describe how every single week there were new people that were coming to the church, Taiwanese who had never heard the gospel before, and also that the church continues to grow in health and even numerically, that people are still coming, hearing the gospel, and becoming a part of the church. Also that in light of, just a lack of having a lead pastor, local Taiwanese have actually stepped up into leadership more, which is such an encouraging thing to see in an international church plant. So we have new people coming, churches growing, local leaders that are stepping up into leadership roles. So encouraging for us to hear. And yet at the same time, the elders, as we sat and talked and prayed with them, they made it very clear that one of their biggest needs is a new lead pastor. And in just a minute, Joel's going to share with you guys how we as a church family can continue to support and pray for them. But before he does that, I wanted to share just a quick, encouraging story that I heard while I was there. This is my friend Andy, and in 2023, when I left, Andy was not a Christian. He had been coming to the church, but was not a believer. Now, Andy is the only male child in his family, which means the responsibility of carrying on ancestor worship falls to him. And this is such an important role in Taiwanese culture, that people believe that the dead are supported as their ancestors worship them and they offer them gifts, whether it be gifts at the grave or burning paper money, that the dead are helped as they do this. And so this responsibility fell to Andy. Now fast forward to 5 years ago in Andy's life, he lost his mom tragically. And it was at this moment in his life that something supernatural began to happen. He began hearing a voice of a spirit. Now this is not the Holy Spirit, but this spirit began to reveal things to him. And Andy's reputation grew so much that people came to him because they wanted revelation or a blessing from this spirit. Now in 2021, Andy got married to his wife, Jenny. They have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And in 2021, Jenny got invited to church, to CityLight Church. Andy had no desire to go with her. And so he said, okay, you go to church, take the kids, but I'm going to the temple and I'm going to worship. So Jenny came to church with her 2 kids, and their kids loved it so much that their daughter went back home, began to share the stories of the gospel, of what she heard, all the stories of the Bible that she heard there, and she begged her parents, can we please go to church? And so Andy, just trying to be a good dad, he said, okay, I agree. I'll go to church just because my daughter wants to. But as Andy sat there and began to hear stories of the gospel, began to kind of just get to know other Taiwanese Christians in the church, Andy's heart began to open up to Jesus, and he actually began to ask this spirit, he said, is it okay if I go to church? And the spirit said yes. And Andy discovered that actually one of his high school friends became a Christian and was now serving and a part of CityLight Church. So they began to connect. Andy began to hear the gospel, began to play basketball with some of us every single week. There were so many people pouring into Andy's life. And there was a time in his life when he said, okay, I'm ready to follow Jesus and I want to be baptized. Now, baptism is a huge, huge thing in Taiwanese culture. It's seen as the final thing that you do leaving traditional worship and religion. And as he told his wife, Jenny, who was originally supportive of them going to church, about his decision to be baptized, Jenny said, no, that's way too extreme. That's way too dramatic. And he continued to hear the gospel, talk about Jesus, and he said, okay, I'm ready to follow Jesus. I want to be baptized. And in Andy's testimony, as he shares it with the church, he shares how he discovered and how as he heard the gospel, he knew that Jesus was so much more powerful than all these other spirits and all these other idols that he followed before. And as Andy shared his testimony, got baptized, he said from that point on, he heard God's voice so clearly, he never heard from that spirit ever again. And the Taiwanese discipled Andy to show him that that was a demonic spirit, it wasn't the Holy Spirit. So that in 2023, both of them got baptized at CityLight Church, and they're continuing to grow spiritually, being discipled and they're also sharing the gospel with Taiwanese around them. It was such an encouragement for me to see, because when I left, nobody was a Christian, and as I came back, a whole family had gotten baptized and are now following Jesus. Andy is an Uber driver now. That's one of his jobs. And he says so many times he'll turn on Christian music in the car because he wants to spark conversations around Jesus. And that's just one small story, that a whole Taiwanese family became Christians following Jesus because you as a church family were a part of sending a team out, sending a family out to plant this church in Taiwan. So I hope that encourages you.
Mission Hill family, this is the primary way that we can support CityLight Church in Taiwan. The main thing that we can do, and I believe that God is calling us to do as a church family, is to pray for CityLight. And there's three things specifically that I think God would have us pray for them. The first is that God would provide and send a senior pastor to serve and to pastor CityLight Church. The second is that as the church is being faithful to make disciples and reach out to the community and the local Taiwanese as they come to CityLight, that the Holy Spirit would soften their hearts and that they would receive the gospel and lives would be transformed and many more would come to know and follow Jesus. And finally, the third way I think that we can pray for CityLight revolves around the geopolitical situation with China. While we were there, most of the people that we had conversations with at some point expressed concern over the tensions between China and Taiwan. So this is what I would ask you to do, to daily just remember them in your prayers. Pray for a senior pastor, pray that many would come to know Christ, and pray for the political tensions between China and Taiwan. Thank you so much for partnering with CityLight going forward, and thank you for your continued prayers.